Three, two, one. Hello, everyone. Hello, and welcome to our Mindful Leadership podcast with my co host, Natasha Rocha.
Hello,
And
everyone.
hello, Natasha.
Hi.
And to Hope, who is our special guest this week. Hello, Hope. Welcome.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited for the conversation today.
Oh, it's a pleasure. And thank you for finding us. And it's going to be really excited. I've been watching some of your videos on your website. So it makes me want to buy a truck and do yoga, or at least start doing meditation at my desk. Um,
Yes.
so I'll start with the introduction, the bio that you very kindly sent on. Um, and how do I pronounce your second name? Svara?
Zvara. Yes,
Svara.
yes.
Hope Svara is a movement and lifestyle expert, speaker, and CEO of Mother Trucker Yoga. Hope has been featured in Forbes, Yahoo News, and is a regular guest on Sirius XM Radio. After nearly 20 years in business, Hope has zeroed in on the simplistic steps to communication, building authority in your industry, and growing your business for the long haul. And in terms of topics, and I'm sure we'll discuss a lot more too, but Hope is suggesting we can chat about how to find clarity in yourself, your mission, and your message so your ideal audience knows you are the right person for them. Staying true to you and your unique gifts to create impact, influence, and income in your business in 2025. And I love it.
Good.
and I
I'm
think
glad.
I immediately started thinking, I think I want those things. I think I didn't know I needed that in my life. I think I need to, you know, have a say in my industry. But it was wonderful. So thank you so much for joining us.
Well, I'm excited to be here. I'm excited to have this conversation. And more importantly, for the listeners, that if you can walk away with something that you can instantly
Mhm.
apply to your life, your business, your own leadership, that is what this is all about, right?
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Tell us a little bit about your journey. I mean, how did you go? Like, I love your company name. Tell us about your journey. It's awesome.
Well, I did not get started in trucking. And so most people ask, Hope, are you a truck driver? No, I'm not a truck driver. I can drive a truck, but I am not one of those amazing people out there on the roads for hours at a time, getting our products across the country. I really got my start in yoga, and rather, I didn't find yoga, yoga found me. I
Mhm.
was struggling with addiction, anxiety, depression as a teenager and into my early 20s, and had tried everything and was just kind of running out of hope. And then one day I was working at a rec center in my hometown, and one of my coworkers looked at me and said, "You look like someone that would practice yoga." Full disclosure, like I live in a farming town with some manufacturing, like there is no yoga around, okay? But something in me just snapped. And I went home and got on my dial up internet at the time and found a class about 20 miles away at a gym. And that Wednesday night yoga class became my weekly ritual of second chances. And I remember leaving that very first class and standing in the doorway with my Target rolled up yoga mat under my arm, freshly opened from the plastic. And I turned around and I looked into that room, and for the first time in what felt like forever, my mind was clear.
Mm.
I was calm. I didn't have these racing thoughts about, oh, Hope, you're a nobody and you'll never be good enough and you do everything wrong and you're fat and you're ugly and you're dumb and like all that stuff that runs through so many of our minds, whether we're in business or not. I had none of that. And I kept coming back, kept coming back, kept coming back. And I got closer and closer and closer to that few moments of mental space growing. And although I was breathing wrong and I couldn't hold the poses and I was shaking real bad, like it didn't even bother me because how I felt in the moment in that 60-minute class really changed the trajectory of my life. And eventually I went off to college, and then my yoga teacher said to me one day, "You look like someone that would teach yoga. Have you ever thought about that?" And something in me just snapped. And I went home and got on the internet again. And I found this place in Colorado and went there for a month and got my yoga certification. And coming back from that training, my entire life changed. I didn't go back to college. I started teaching yoga and mindfulness full time. 2 years later, I opened a yoga studio because, like I said, my hometown didn't really have much of that. I wanted to build a community, not just for the community, but really for my own healing. I was getting into recovery at that time, and I wanted to be around people like me, that thought like me, that wanted to improve themselves, body, mind, and spirit, and that wanted to move forward with other people. And I grew that yoga studio, eventually opened a state approved vocational school here in my hometown. And I did that for about 15 years and I loved it. But I felt like there was something more for me. I felt like this isn't it. And for some people, owning a brick and mortar business, that's their goal. I never felt like that was my end goal. And so back in 2017, I was at a local business mixer in my hometown with my husband. I meet this guy. I am married. And I start talking to him, thinking, I'm going to try to pitch him corporate wellness, wondering if that's my pivot. And he looks at me and says, do you have anything for truck drivers? Like in the cab of the truck. And I think I'm funny sometimes. And I threw up my hands and said, Mother Trucker Yoga. Really just trying to get a rise out of this guy, trying to make
Yay.
awkward conversation a little bit more palatable and lighthearted. And he looked at me and said, that's brilliant. You want to go into business together? We shook on it. The next morning he called me up. And in 4 months later, we built a business from scratch, we meaning me. And a year later, I bought him out of the business. And for the last 7 years, I've helped more than 200,000 truck drivers in various capacities change lanes in their health and fitness with small, simple changes, all based in mindful approach towards health. That means physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually. That one move is yoga, one breath is yoga, one thought shift is yoga, because we live this. And that's kind of what brought us together today.
Wow.
What an incredible journey. You've really been guided in having the right people show up at the right time until you became the right person that showed up at the right time as well. What an amazing story. It's the alignment is uncanny. It's fantastic.
Yeah, a lot of times I feel like we all have those moments, but it's
Mhm.
being open and enough to be aware and listening and asking like,
Mhm.
show me, what should I do next? And I just, maybe I'm a gutsy person and I just like, risky leaps of faith. Or for me, it's like when I know, and there's
Yeah.
nothing anyone can do to change my mind. Like I feel it. This is what I've been asking for. And I've had kind of 3 really big moments in my life that have really told me, like, you need to do this. And that's, I think, what makes life so exciting.
Wow. And I love in that moment when you're asked, do you have anything for truck drivers? Because in that moment, it's so easy to just say, no. and your heart, you just feel your heart like close and you're like, well, that's scary. And just stop. But instead you're like, no, I think I do. I do. And here's a name. And I love that you went with it in that moment because like you say, so many of these opportunities in our lives are like a gift. They're like, here, are you ready?
Mhm.
And when you're ready, you're like, yes, I know it sounds crazy, but it feels like it's going to be amazing. Um, my late uncle, he used to drive long haul from the west Canada, uh, all the way down the west coast for however many, is it thousands of miles? My geography's
That
terrible.
would be thousands, yes.
and back, and he found it very mindful. He was a very spiritual guy, and uh, I felt like he was the only guy in the family that understood me, and he really enjoyed it. But I know that he also physically found it quite hard,
Mhm.
and it really takes its toll. And I guess like in that moment where you're told, here's an opportunity, it's kind of got all the things going against it, right? It's got an audience that a stereotype you think wouldn't be interested. You've got
Mhm.
restricted space. You've got kind of even like I think if you have a proximity or an understanding of some of the things that are close to yoga, maybe it's mindfulness or maybe it's like some sort of exercising, or there's something that has you close to it that you'll be more likely to do it. And yet you went for it, which is fantastic. And when I watch your videos, I can see how you've been such a success. How did you, like, what were your first stages when you started your proposal and then started to convince people that this was a good idea to do in and around their trucks?
Well, I didn't know this term then, but somebody shared this with me, the blue ocean. Like trucking was my blue ocean because I was in a space that, I mean, everyone was becoming a yoga teacher, you know, take this 2-week training and poof, you're a yoga teacher, and everyone and their uncle was. And I had this really extensive in-depth training beyond yoga on functional movement and biomechanics and how the core works and meditation, that I knew a lot more coming to the yoga mat than the average yoga teacher was. And my big thing was always like, oh my gosh, you're hurting people. Like these are people with real bodies. And I kind of felt like this is not the space for me. Like people, I want to work with a group of people that kind of are virgin to, you know, what they think anything about yoga or about fitness or movement is. And when trucking fell in my lap, they were my blue ocean. And so a big part of leadership in business, or business really, is, you know, knowing your audience and knowing the opportunity. And when I did a little bit of research in trucking and found that there was a couple people, you know, fitness focused in trucking, but no one was taking the approach that I was. And that was this mindful approach of slowing down, of focusing on more stretching and good posture and functional movement, mindfulness. That, I mean, I don't know what it's like in the UK, but like in America, like 80 to 90% of our truck drivers are obese. I don't really see many of them out there doing jumping jacks, push-ups, and sit-ups on the side of the road, or nonetheless in a dirty parking lot. And that was kind of the narrative for the industry. And I'm like, this is not working for people. Like this is, they aren't receptive to this. And so for me, it was just in that moment when I blurted out Mother Trucker Yoga, it was like my whole vision of this company just like flashed before my eyes. I was like, the chair yoga, the cancer yoga, the mindfulness, the breathing stuff, like it all just like, I can do all of this. Because my whole approach in yoga for the 15 years was breaking things down so people could understand them and then connecting them to everyday life. Like, why are you doing this plank? How many times a day do you do plank? You know, why squat? What's the purpose of that? And so I was just really taking a lot of what I was teaching and breaking it down into bite-sized pieces, which I already loved to do. That a big part of that was because that's how I got into recovery. Like waking up and thinking I was going to be healed the next day didn't work for me for years, but baby tiny incremental steps, breaking things down, was really what got me into recovery. And so I took that approach with truck drivers and they were receptive. It was like, oh, really? Because they didn't want to be the fittest trucker. They didn't want to be the person out there doing push-ups on the ground. Yes, some of them are, but they already probably came from a fitness background of some nature. A lot of the drivers I work with, both men and women, they just want to get rid of their back pain. They just want to be able to get in and out of the truck and not be like, give me a second, I can't move my legs right now. Or go home and play with their kids and grandkids, you know, not be exhausted when they go home so that they can be with their families before they head out on the road. To be able to break the loneliness constant cycle. Like solitude is one thing, but when you're in solitude all the time, it becomes loneliness, it becomes isolation, it becomes depression. And so showing them ways that they can be able to manage these things, maybe not get rid of them, but manage them, is a really empowering experience. And they never have to take their boots off. They never have to take their jeans off. They don't need a yoga mat. That was really kind of the beginning of kind of this snowball effect. It was just a completely different approach to anything the industry had seen, and people were open to it.
Quite incredible that people are open to it, just from a very stereotypical kind of like, you know, impression, which is absolutely amazing. And what were the biggest hurdles that you found in actually, you know, speaking to truck drivers, and kind of like, did they kind of like just get buy-in, or did you have to kind of like really, you know, what research did you do? I find it fascinating that you've managed to adapt, you know, to that market, and I love the creativity that you have in order to create that. But tell us a little bit more about that from that sense, because it is actually quite incredible of the time they spend by themselves in that connection and getting to know who they are is quite incredible. How do you turn that into like a gift? Because it truly is a gift.
Yeah. Well, in the beginning, I mean, my former business partner was in trucking. He was in fuel, so he knew the industry.
Mhm.
I grew up around trucking, but not directly influenced by it. My neighbor was a truck driver. There was trucking companies in my
Mhm.
hometown. At my yoga studio, I had a few truck drivers that were students, but it wasn't like this, like, oh, you're a truck driver. Like it
Yeah.
didn't compute at that time. So when I stepped into the trucking industry, the very first thing I recognized as a business owner and somebody that wanted to become a leader in the industry in my particular topic or my particular area was I needed to create alliances, or I needed to create belief and trust with other people that the drivers would follow. And so a
Mhm.
lot of people, when they step into an industry, they're like, oh, I got to get more customers. I got to get these people to like me. I recognized that above a truck driver, there were other influential people that would be like, oh, you got to listen to Hope. And so what I did was I identified who those people were. And
Mhm.
I wanted to solve a problem for them. Hey, without healthy truck drivers, you can't sell your product. You can't sell
Yeah.
your services. Like you won't have any drivers in your fleet. Like, let me help you, advocate and show your support for this importance in the industry. And so I built these partnerships and alliances
Mhm.
with key leaders and influencers, and not like today's influencer. I don't mean like that, like social media. What I mean is like key people in the industry that had influence and
Mhm.
that had a space that they would want to also promote health and fitness. And so I connected with those people, and I did that for a few years, and then slowly started to build up that driver pool and following. I was doing YouTube videos and social media. I do a lot of speaking. I was doing radio and just offering my expertise to the industry for people to try on for size so that they could make that kind of decision and choice for themselves in this non-intimidating way. And a big piece of this all is the delivery. Most people are an expert in their craft, but they have no idea how to communicate their craft. It's kind of
Mhm.
like, well, you're an engineer. Now you should go teach engineering. Well, that's a whole nother ballgame. Like it's one thing to know it, it's another thing to communicate it. I had the skill sets to be able to communicate things in a way where the end user and listener could make sense of it and walk away and apply it to their life and be like, wow, that thing Hope said, that mother trucker girl, that's what I get called a lot. I like what she's doing. It made sense. I went back to my truck, or I did that at night, like she said, and it worked. Oh my gosh, like I just was on a call with a group of drivers 2 weeks ago, and he's like, hey, Sean, hey, thanks so much for telling me those things to do to help lower my blood pressure. I did them and I passed my DOT medical examination. And I was like, and all it was simple breathing exercises, legs up the wall, get in a routine of walking 15 minutes briskly every day. Like these simple little things, coupled with some of the other stuff he was doing, really made a big difference. And so that's that snowball effect, really, of what I created over time. The time piece is also there. I don't believe in overnight success. That's usually doesn't last because they don't have, again, the skill sets to sustain it. But 7 years later, I'm still here.
That's wonderful. Thank you. And I'm really fascinated about you spoke about communication.
Mhm.
There's this aspect where you help people find like clarity in themselves and their mission and their messages, like how to be able to connect with their audience. Please tell us more.
Yeah. So in this process, people started asking me like, how are you so good at this? Like, how do you know how to speak like this? Like, how can you watch that person and know how to respond? Like, tell me how you did this. And so I started coaching people on really this simple pathway into creating a business or being able to better communicate your business. And the first thing I see, and I've coached probably 10,000 plus speakers and business owners over the last 6, 7 years. And a trend I see with a lot of people is they don't slow down enough to, one, pick a niche audience. So trucking, it was very tempting for me to be like trucking and stay-at-home moms, because that was a big part of my people, right? Or everybody with back pain. But staying in a smaller niche lane, when you talk to one person, everybody hears you. When you talk to everybody, no one listens. And so I had to really be disciplined in that space of picking a niche audience and knowing and trusting that as I build momentum there, that I can broaden then. And a lot of people forget that like as you grow and become bigger, like you can add other things on. In the US, Tony Robbins is a really big name. Like he didn't start with 119 businesses. That's, I think, the number he has right now. He started with one. He didn't start talking about business and money and manifesting and marriage and self-help. Like he picked one niche, one type of person, and he grew from there. And we forget that. And so that's the first thing. The second thing is I picked one problem I wanted to solve. One. And when I talk to a lot of people about what the problem they solve for their audience is, a lot of times they're talking about the results and the solutions they offer. So if they're in health and fitness, they're like, you know, I help people with weight loss. And I'm like, well, weight loss is not a problem. Last time I checked, that's a good thing. And so it's like, what's the problem you solve? And the reason why that's so important is because the average ideal client for whatever you do isn't walking around going, you know, oh, lose weight. I want to lose weight, or I just want $1 million. No, they're thinking about their problems. You know, I hate the way I look in the mirror. You know, this belly bulge in front of me is so uncomfortable. Or how am I going to pay my bills? You know, I only have $19 in my checking account. And so people connect with people about their problems. And when there's trust there, when they see that you're like them and you figured out the problem, now they're willing to listen to your solutions and want the results. Most people are working backwards. And so I recognized this. A great mentor I had opened me to this and was like, you got to stay in your lane. You have to stay obsessed with one problem. And mine was truck drivers are living sedentary lifestyles. So movement, fitness was my focus. I can speak on nutrition. I can speak on sleep. I can speak on, you know, the lack of vitamin D. But like in the beginning, I had to stay narrow because you can't become an expert in everything. Or people will become, it's like almost unbelievable then. Like, how can you be good at everything? But over time, you build momentum, you can. So those were really the three things that I got super clear on in the beginning. What is the audience I want to serve? What niche audience? What is the problem that I'm solving and staying in my lane? And then what is the solution I'm going to offer? In the online space, this happens a lot. Maybe you've experienced this. You know, we make one online course and then we think, oh, I want to make 12 more. Oh, I'm going to make, and then we get like obsessed with like, I need one book. No, I need 20 books. It's like, you haven't even sold one book yet. Like, so really focusing on one key solution to fix that problem, and then being really clear on the results that I was going to promise. Like, what can I help you achieve? I'm not saying you're going to lose 90 pounds. I'm not saying you're going to be the fittest trucker on the planet. Like, what I'm saying is that you can feel good again. You can move your body with less pain. You can get in and out of your truck with ease. You can drive for longer periods of time without your back locking up on you. Like, those were the clear results that I was focused on. And once I achieved those, once I kind of created a foundation, I broadened and I expanded and I added, but less is more, especially when you're trying to build traction.
That sounds like some really good advice. Thank you for sharing that with us, Hope. What other industries do you support as well?
Yeah, so my primary business is in the trucking industry. I have done stuff with pilots. I have done stuff with security guard officers. I have done stuff with different sectors within trucking, logistics. I actually just started a year ago a healthcare offer with a doctor to be able to offer more affordable healthcare and wellness as a one size fits all for trucking companies. And so we've grown our solutions, we've grown our offerings. But I've also had this other business that I was just really doing for fun, coaching other speakers and entrepreneurs to try to create clarity and create a pathway for themselves, because I see so many people like I was in my first business, like you're kind of just lost in the noise, right? I would wake up with my yoga studio and be like, today my branding colors are going to be earth tones. And then like a week later, today it's going to be hot pink and neon. Like I was everywhere from branding to like, you know, who do you help? Well, I help 2-year-olds. I help 2-day-old babies. Oh, 102 people, hot yoga, athletic yoga, power yoga, yin yoga. Like I can do it all. Like I had no idea that diluting myself and diversifying myself to the point that like there was no idea about what I stood for or what people could come to my space for. It was hurting me. I was just grabbing, like, oh, people are interested in this. Oh, that's the new trend. Oh, people are calling me asking for this. Maybe I should do that, instead of saying, Hope, what's the problem you solve? What are you good at? What are you passionate about? What are you trying to do for people? And then getting a good foundation in that, and then deciding where I want to expand from there. I didn't realize that, and I had to work 20 times harder to get my business to the place it was. And I think I could have went way further with it a lot faster had I known just this key foundational principle of get clarity.
Mhm. Beautiful. And what is your advice for somebody that's starting out, like a 16, 17, 18-year-old that's like kind of like going out into the world? Like, what would you say to them?
I think first is I'm a big believer in, what are your gifts? What are
Hmm.
your skill sets? What are you naturally good at? Like if you go back to your childhood, what was that thing your aunties and your uncles and maybe your teachers were like, you're just such a natural at that, or that comes so easy for you, or, you're so good at that. Like that usually is a sign that that is a path for you. And it
Hmm.
might not be like the literal path. Like no one said to me, you're good at yoga. Like no one said that to me. But what they did say to me was, you're really good at communicating with people. You're like a natural teacher, Hope. And they, oh, I was athletic, but like not in like the traditional sense. It was more just like lifestyle athletic. And so I found like these pieces all kind of came together for me in the yoga space. And the trucking really fell into alliance because my dad was in the trades and I watched him break his body, over the course of my life to the point where he's disabled now. And I see that a lot in truck drivers. So there's this like string of harmony kind of coming in. But for that 16, 17, 18-year-old, yes, you should listen to other people and like guidance of what's trending or great jobs. But if you're looking for long-term happiness, if you're looking to be satisfied in your career, like look at where your strengths are. Look at where your passions lie. Look at where your natural abilities are. And if there's not a job that fits that, today's world, at least in the US, and you want to go to college, meet with an advisor and say, this is my vision. I know so many people's kids and people that have made their own degrees, made their own majors, made their own focuses, because we have this ability now to diversify that way. So you don't have to fit into a box. You can make your own box.
I love
Beautiful.
that.
I love that. And what would you say? Because a lot of kids are like, I want to do this because it will bring me money. And it's like, yes, but no. But yes, but no. It's
So
like,
I'm maybe the opposite of where most people are.
yeah.
Yes, you need to make money. Like I maybe just as me as a personality, I've never been money driven.
Mhm.
I'm purpose driven and I'm like help driven, and really change driven. And so that's been something that I've always led with. And I will say that yes, sometimes it's like, oh, it'd be so tempting to just, join that group and make money, or sell that course that I has nothing to do with me, or you listen to podcasts where like pick a product and sell it on Amazon, and I'm like, yeah, but I have to be able to get up in the morning and love doing that. They're like, well, once you're making money, you'll love anything, and I just don't believe that's true.
Yeah.
I don't believe that money will bring you happiness. It might make it easier for you to reach for your dream job. But I guess for me, I don't regret my path at all, because every step along the way, I was in alignment and I was in congruence with what I believe my purpose is in life. And the people that I've helped and supported because of that, like I'm purpose driven. I feel like that's a gain. And it has led me to money. It has led me to
Mhm.
income. It has led me to making profit in what I'm doing in a way that doesn't feel sleazy, in a way that's in alignment. I don't have to beg for it because I have the skill sets now, but I'm also in alignment with what I believe my purpose is. So that also gets easier. I don't know if you two have had this experience, but when I'm not in alignment with that, I feel like it's so difficult to get somebody to say yes. It's so difficult to get to convince somebody, air quotes, that, you know, what you're selling or what you're offering is going to help them. I don't sell anything. I simply help people and provide solutions to them to help them reach their goals. And so I just look at life and business very different than maybe a money focused entrepreneur or a money focused coach, because the money always comes when your heart is in the right place, your mind is in the right place, you have the right skills to do those things, and you're in congruence with your audience. I mean, though you focus on those things and the money is there, people are waiting. Like, there is no shortage on money despite what people say about the economy. People are still spending money. They are still investing in themselves, their businesses, their families. Like, that has not stopped despite the cost of eggs going up, despite the cost of travel going up. People are still investing. And that tells me that if you're in alignment with what you offer and you're doing the right thing, and people want what you have because they understand it will solve your problem, they will invest with you.
Beautiful.
Wonderful. Yeah, definitely aligned. I like my journey just quite recently, since I started my own business in end of May last year after leaving 8 years at Amazon and 26 years in software, was just started out, I had some offerings and I had loads, and then I just kept shrinking them down. And it's quite easy to do, right? If you have loads, you just I just would pick one each week and go, well, I didn't sell any. And I just keep going, and ended up now I have three, and sometimes I had a fourth. And it's so funny because it's like the fourth never sells. And even then I'm like, I think I just need one. It's only really what I do. And I love the blue ocean as well. I think, because no one teaches you this at school, right? No one says to you, you need to find your blue ocean because it's there. Did you know that like humanity's not really explored all the ocean? Like, no matter what we tell ourselves, no matter what you physically see on Google Maps, that's not even the actual photos. They're like, yeah, it's some satellite stuff and some blue and things, and they kind of paint it together. And below that, there's even, you know, all these hidden depths we've never explored. And yeah, I recently found, for, you know, as an example, a demograph of about my age, about 50 to I think 88, is my oldest client. People that are going through awakening experiences and are feeling lost. And I, and of course, to many of them, I'm like this spring chicken. You know, I'm like, who's the young guy? You know, and what's lovely about it is that, you know, you feel that it doesn't matter what the world's telling you. It doesn't matter what the news is telling you, or your parents, or your peers, or what social media, often which is very dominated by younger demographics and niches. You know, it's like churning through the same things in very poor exploration. And it's our gift as humans, right? We're like, hey, good news, you've got an imagination. And just opening up yourself and saying, if I was ready for that opportunity, if I'd done some practice in the things I love doing, and I'd already done 3 years as a hobby of doing energy healing and psychic readings and mindfulness for people, that I realized that I was just ready to. It's like, okay, the universe is like, okay, John, here you go. Here's a thing. Would you like to try it? And I love that what you said that as well, Hope, was that you can try it out because you're not marrying it, right? And actually, a lot of these opportunities don't require you to buy a building or buy like these huge investments. Often they're like right there and then, like you're seizing the moment. So yeah, I definitely resonate with that. And the purpose is really fascinating, because one thing that keeps echoing through my mind and heart as you're talking, Hope, is some of that loneliness that truck drivers experience. Many of us do, right? Some people experience loneliness in a crowd. Some even in a small family, you can feel like you can't really express all of yourself, and it's so healthy to just be able to have something you can go to and say, this is my space, this is my happy moments, even if it's 10 minutes in a day. Like, that's how my meditation practice started. And what's your advice for people like becoming like more happier and healthier when they're alone without having to feel lonely, regardless of whether they're around other people?
Yeah, when I first started in my own meditation journey, I thought meditation was like you had to completely clear your mind, right? And so I would like try to envision a blank piece of paper. This is like, my naiveness. I was like, a teenager, like, Hope, meditate on a blank piece of paper, a white piece of paper. And then my meditation teacher, when I had my first child, said to me, I said, really worried. I was like, how can I have a practice? Like sitting and meditating is going to be really hard. And she goes, her name was Swami Devananda. She goes, Hope, you're entering into a new stage of your life. And everything is a meditation. Everything is movement. Everything is yoga. And so when you're sitting and you're nursing your baby, close your eyes and take a deep breath. That's meditation. Mm-hmm. When you're washing the dishes, wash every dish with care. That's meditation. When you're folding the clothes, move your body in a little bit more of a mindful way, even if it's more rhythmic and it's not a yoga pose, like that's yoga. And she taught me a really valuable lesson in that moment. And it's about taking these skills and adding them into our life. And what I was thinking was I had to remove myself from my life, have a 2-hour yoga class I practice. If I didn't sit down on a cushion in a quiet room with special little things on the wall and music and incense, like I wasn't meditating. And that lesson in that moment was it's not about putting yourself in a particular position or space to achieve whatever it is you're trying to achieve, but rather how can you take that and adapt that to your unique life? And so for truck drivers or for anybody really listening, you're stressed, you're overwhelmed, you just got off a call with your boss and you're ready to just throw your phone out the window, or gosh, you're like, I should just rear end this person now. Like I'm so sick of, I'm just done, right? Take a breath. Take a deep inhalation and fill your belly with air, fill your lungs with air, and just retain that breath as long as you possibly can. And then exhale out your mouth forcefully, like hear yourself exhale until all that air is gone. And if you can, get yourself to do it a second time. Get yourself to do it a third time. And before you know it, those thoughts that you had, you'll have created much, much, much more space from that. You'll feel calmer. Your blood pressure is down. Your mind is more focused and you're back to yourself again. You, my friend, just were meditating. You were just practicing mindfulness. You were just practicing yoga, pranayama. You were doing all of those things while driving a truck, while on Zoom silent with your camera off because you're like ready to punch the camera, whatever it is, like it all counts. You're stressed, your back hurts, you're wondering, oh my gosh, I can't do this job anymore. I have a rule every time I go into the bathroom, I do 10 squats, not to like pump iron or like get fit, but rather I need to move my body. Because when I don't feel good in my body, my thoughts go a direction that it is difficult for me to bring them back. And so movement in my life, like this is where for me, yoga has become a lifestyle. So when people are like, oh, I can't practice yoga. And I'm like, don't you breathe air? Well, what do you mean? I'm like, every time you breathe, you're practicing yoga. And that conversation opens things up for people. I don't want to always say I'm stressed or I'm overweight or I don't like my life, but trying to make those connections. And so if you're listening, breathe, move, close your eyes and just feel your body, good, bad, ugly, and different, and just notice and recognize those feelings. That's meditation. It's not the white piece of paper. It's the noticing what's going on in your life in that moment and staying the observer. And it's my observation that for many people, at least in the US, we're dealing with all-time highs of depression, anxiety, suicide. So many people don't have the skill set to be the observer. We feel things we don't like because we don't have the skill sets to deal with them and we want to get rid of them. Take it from me, a recovering addict, that did not get me anywhere. That got me down a very bad path. And so that feeling and observing and letting those things pass, trying to non-attachment has been a game changer for me in my own personal life, but also in business, because now I don't take things personal. And now I can stay centered and focused. And it's not like, ooh, a bird, ooh, a squirrel, ooh, a cat. Like I should do that. And things come in my inbox and I'm like, I should join that program. I should buy that software. Then my business will be successful. Then I'll be a better leader. Then my people will like me on social media. It's about me and staying true to me, true to my audience, and true to my purpose.
Beautiful. I love the presence that it brings you to the now You're constantly bringing them to the now, which I absolutely love. And I find that that is so important. I think we're so geared to chase. We're so geared to what is next. We're so geared to, and we forget that it's in the now that we create the tomorrow. And I love that such good suggestions in just taking that breath and actually shifting the energy for the rest of the day. Because how many times do we know that sometimes when things start off bad, it just sets the tone for the rest of the day? But it's like you say, it's like every breath is a new beginning. Every breath, every movement, every moment, every minute, every hour, every day is a way to restart and become absolutely, yeah, present, and yeah, following your passion and your purpose. I think this is the way of the future. I think this is the way of leadership in the future. So thank you for personifying that and for sharing your experience with that.
You said something, and it made me think of the title of your podcast, The Mindful Leadership, like that mindfulness piece in leadership. And it makes me think of, like, from parenting, business, even what I do, so many people that are identifying as a leader are really chasing an idea. Even a parent,
Yeah.
like, are you chasing your kids or are you leading your kids? Like, chasing your kids,
Yeah.
oh, I gotta make sure they don't fall off, the bed and do all these things. And it's like, no, lead your kids into the day. If you're a boss, how are you leading your people versus chasing them or corralling them? It's this rooted in purpose and mindfulness and just willingness to take a pause. And it is mind blowing to me, pun intended, that when I talk to some business owners and, like, well, I don't have time. Well, what you're doing right now, though, is zapping all of your time and it's not working. And so what if you were to just pull back and just take even 30 seconds and breathe? I'll tell people often, set a timer. If you get anxiety about the idea of even just closing your eyes and breathing, start with a timer, 30 seconds, and then 60, and then 90, and then 120, and just slowly build up. And you'll be blown away at how much that feeling of connectedness. And sometimes people, like, they learn to love the solitude because it's clearing. Like, you get so much more rooted in the direction you want to go. And I know for me, when my business isn't going right, when I feel like I'm hitting way too many obstacles, when I step back and become the observer again, it's usually because I'm chasing, not leading. It's usually because I'm juggling things, I'm disconnected, I've gotten off track somewhere, and I've learned to check myself so that I can continue to move forward. And then I do that, and it's not always overnight immediate, but I do notice all of a sudden, okay, things are working a little bit better now. And it's knowing your audience, having clarity, knowing the problem you solve, but also within yourself. I know my purpose. I know what I'm good at, what I'm supposed to do. And maybe I don't work with truck drivers for the rest of my life. I don't know. But I'm also open to the fact that I don't have to know that right now. I can just stay where in the moment I'm in and move forward. And if another doorway opens like it did 7 years ago, that I am going to be open to it, literally open to it, and see what happens.
Beautiful.
Fabulous. Mother Farmer, there you go. You can have that for free.
Hey, wherever it leads me, you never know. You never know.
I'm sure if I better. That's so cool. And you touched on a few times, like leading by example. Like you can't really lead. I think I learned that early on in my software career. I started quite early. I think I was like 23, 24 as a manager because I was obsessed about being one. And I realized how disengaged people were with me when I didn't lead by example. So if I said to them, you need to, you're working too many hours and you need to leave, they'd look at me and like, but you're here till like 7 p.m., 8 p.m., 9 p.m. Like, what are you doing? And I feel that now, especially, well, not just with my clients, but with my kids as well. My 15-year-old son, we were chatting with him about, he's just doing his exams, his first kind of mock exams at high school. And we were saying to him, like, just follow your joy. Like what out of the subjects you've learned so far, what do you enjoy, and what are the other things in life you enjoy the most? And there is some overlap, music and computing, as it would happen as a coincidence. And one of the things that he's really passionate about is just going on this journey where he just follows those passions and just see what happens. And I think it's a really unhelpful thing as a parent to say, oh, well, if you choose that, it earns less.
Yep.
And that therefore indirectly it will be less happy, or less, that we'll think, I as a parent, I will think less of you if you choose that path, is really destructive in our lives, because it's really the joy. You know, I experienced a lot of being a wealthy, unhappy man who earned a lot of money and was fried, was just burnt out. And yes, I could afford very expensive things in my life, but I was too unhappy to enjoy them. And now I see that it's actually the world is the other way around. That actually, if you follow your joy, not only do you attract more joyful work, but the money's absolutely there in everything you choose, because I'm keeping your blue ocean, Hope. Not yours, mine, but it's like everyone's got their own blue ocean to find, that it really is there, and it's full of the joy and full of the things that you've been craving for.
Absolutely. And it's okay to, I don't even look at it like going against the grain. It's okay to follow your path, even if others don't understand. Like, I went to college because that was the path I was shoved into. Well, this is the next step for you. And had I realized, a year later, I left because that wasn't my path. Like, that I was totally not in alignment. The classes were not right for me. I wasn't happy. And then yoga fell into my life when my teacher said, you should become a yoga teacher. And it was like, there it is. That's my path. And it was just, I just knew, I felt it. And so if you're listening and you're feeling like, but I feel like my path goes this way. Maybe you're going to go travel abroad. Maybe you're going to go into the Peace Corps. Maybe you're going to, go take a year off. Maybe you're going to go to tech college. Maybe you're going to work for a family business. Maybe you're going to go and be a nanny, an au pair for a year, and just, get some money so that you can figure out what your next step is. Whatever it is, that is your path and your purpose, and yours alone. And yes, you can listen to input, but just know, if you're listening still, that at the end of the day, you're the one that has to live with you, period. Not your spouse, not your kids. You have to live with the joy or lack thereof in your heart and in your life. And without that, like you said, there's no amount of money that can replace that. It can maybe help you buy nice stuff or buy relationships, but even then, if you're not congruent in alignment with your purpose and your passion, you have nothing to deliver at that level. So what a waste.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, before I step into a mindful meditation, and you might have noticed some of my tactics, asking questions that might help paint the picture in my mind of how to create the meditation. But how can people get in touch with you and the amazing work you do, Hope?
Yeah, you can find me on all social platforms. Hope Zavara, Zvara, or mothertruckeryoga.com. Don't say that too fast. Mothertruckeryoga.com. And you can check out what we're doing. You don't have to be a truck driver. You can be a school teacher, a plumber, a stay-at-home mom, a stay-at-home dad, and you're just looking to find more purpose in your life. You're looking to move your body a little bit more and just add to your toolbox to a more purpose-driven life. That's really what we're all about. And I'd love to meet you online or in person one day.
Fabulous. Well, thank you so much for coming along. And I'm kind of saying goodbye now, because I know what happens in my meditations. I just kind of go into a different dimension. So if you'd like to join us, we'll begin our short meditation, and I'll set the intention for our meditation to help us at whatever age we are in our lives, really stepping into our joy, following our purpose and our mission, finding our gifts and our superpowers. Easily done in 10 minutes, right? Okay, so if you'd like to join me, we'll begin by taking in a deep breath through the nose and breathe out through the mouth, nice and loud. And breathe in through the nose, nice and deep. And breathe out any fear, shame, anxiety, or pain, nice and loud. And once more, breathe in through the nose, nice and deep. And breathe out any remaining low vibration emotions, nice and loud. And continue to breathe deeply and calmly. And just bring gently your awareness to the center of your heart. And perhaps you'd like to join me and place one of your hands on your heart. And allow yourself to connect with your body. Saying hello to your body and asking every aspect of you how you're feeling at this time, starting with your heart. And then perhaps taking notes of any areas of tension, any areas you need to let go of to relax, any areas of your body you need to give your body permission to begin healing and recovery. And if you can, join me in allowing some of that love that you hold in your heart for your others, your loved ones in your life. Allow just a little bit of that love energy that you hold to be reflected back into your heart and across all of your body, especially to those areas that need it the most at this time. And do so by breathing in through the nose nice and deep. And then releasing anything that doesn't serve your highest good, nice and loud. And as you feel more connected with your body and where you're sat, or standing or laying down at this time, begin to clear a space around you, a bit like you're taking an eraser and you're just taking away the environments around you that you're currently located in. And I'd like you to see ahead of you, there's a big open road. Everyone's road is unique. Some of our roads are straight, some of them weave and bend, some are flat, and some have hills. And that no one really knows what lies ahead of them in their open roads ahead. But just as with every journey in life, you can always set the intention about where it is you want to go, and the how you can leave to the rest of the world and the universe to give you experiences on the way. So remembering now where you're connected with your heart, perhaps your hand is placed on your heart, and feel into some of those most joyous moments as a child, all those superpowers that you have, the things that you inexplicably do much better than others, or in a very different and unusual way, or simply that you find joy in those things. And if you'd like to, you could join me in setting the intention as you look down the road ahead of you, this journey ahead of you in your life, knowing that this journey is not forever, just like our lives. It's as long as you wish it to be. Set the intention with that feeling in your heart, that joyous feeling, that ahead of you, at some point down that road, is all of the joy you seek and more. And allow that feeling to rise up in your heart. Perhaps you'd like to place a little flag at some point in the distance by picking it up from the ground next to you just now and throwing that flag as far as you can, miles and miles down that road, and it landing. When that flag lands on the road, that's the moment. That's your target. That's your mission. It's that joy you're following. And there's no need to wait. You don't need to wait until then to receive the joy. It's already starting to happen now. And just like every road, highway, freeway, motorway, your road has crossroads. Just like all those busy thoughts that come in and out of your mind, all that negative self-talk, all those times you're hard on yourself. You can see these as trucks or cars or any vehicles passing from side to side in front of you, crossing your road even. And simply allow them to just be. Observe them, because all of this traffic of both our minds and the traffic that exists outside of us is all happening for us. It's there to teach us through patterns and signs. The numbers and messages on number plates and car bumper stickers, the emotions that we feel when these emotions that the traffic passes through our minds brings to us, to bring to our attention at this time. Allow these to flow now, to flow freely. And every time you feel a negative thought, that self-doubt creeps in, or that fear, tell it you see it. Thank you for showing me. Listen to the message, to the lesson, and then allow it to keep driving, to keep on trucking. As you step bravely now with an open heart, letting go of your fear and following your joyous path ahead of you, all the way to that flag and beyond. All of the abundance and all of your wildest dreams exist for you. Just keep going each day and come back to this moment, come back to this meditation whenever you wish, as many times as you wish, and allow your joy and your self-love to lead you. And when you're ready, come back to your body and come back to your breath. Perhaps you'd like to open your eyes and move a little. And so it is.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. And you're still awake.
Thank you both.
I am. I feel like that was like my life's journey meditation. That was amazing.
It was a pleasure. Thank you. Thank you for all the inspiration. It's such a pleasure to meet you. And yeah, please everyone do follow Hope. It's just been a pleasure to connect with you. Your energy is incredible. I love your drive and energy is just fantastic.
Thank you so much.
And best of luck with your endeavors. And yeah, if you're ever interested, we'd love to have you on again. It's been a pleasure.
Absolutely.
And please do keep in touch.
Oh my gosh, absolutely.
So lovely to meet you. Thank you.
And thank you to the listeners.
Yes, thank you, everyone. We'll be back again soon. We got some more guests lined up, so we're looking forward to sharing more soon. Take care, everyone. See you in the next episode.
Bye, everybody. Bye.
Bye.